Welcome to MidLIFE Matters, where we celebrate women's wisdom and wit. I'm Georgianne Lucia, your host, and I'm delighted to introduce today's guest, Karen Annis, who is a licensed clinical social worker, and today we're going to be talking about her role as board president of the Meriden Humane Society, which is a no-kill animal shelter and rescue organization. Who do we have with us here today?
This is my friend Tank.
Mm-hmm.
Tank is an alumni of the Meriden Humane Society, and
Okay.
Tank is what we call a foster fail, in the sense that I fostered him, and it was the very best kind of failure ever, in which that you foster and decide that it's not temporary, but you'd like to make the animal a permanent part of your home.
Great. So that's a very different way of thinking of fail.
Absolutely. Tank was a rescue from about 6.5 years ago. The family was getting a divorce or, having a separation.
Right.
And Tank was really just shut down in the shelter and not doing well in a shelter environment. So a decision was made that he was going to go into foster care, and he came into my house. And I say very famously that I knew right away that I was in trouble, and for 6 or 9 months I fostered him. He had a few medical things that we needed to sort out first, and then I finalized the adoption.
Good.
So Tank really just blossomed and came out of his shell very nicely.
So he's a great success story.
He is a great success story. Yeah.
Your organization is not part of like the state or national Humane Society?
No, we're a standalone organization, and we are not affiliated with the Connecticut Humane Society or any of the other local rescues. We really provide comprehensive services to both cats and dogs, youngest kittens and puppies to the oldest animals in our shelter. We have a very robust, comprehensive foster care program that really sometimes has more animals than the shelter itself. And in addition to that, we like to provide community outreach in the form of food pantries, educating the public, providing resources to the public who may be having difficulty taking care of their animals or not sure what to do.
Mm-hmm.
We hope that we are a resource to the community, and hopefully we're also a resource to people who want to come and volunteer with us and get something out of it and really feel the reward of taking care of animals. Monetarily, our budget is probably about $350,000, of which we spend just about a third of that on vet care alone.
Mm-hmm.
So the quality of animal care is very important. It's one of our highest values. We really pride ourselves on providing each animal not only with the spay and neuter surgery and their vaccinations, if an animal has a medical need that was either known or not known, that we would want it cared for and the animal treated in a humane way.
Any limits on how long you keep an animal?
No, an animal can stay with us as long as it needs to. We really are committed to waiting and making the right match rather than going on by any specific time limit for the animal.
And are there requirements around who can surrender an animal to the shelter?
The only requirement that we have is that animals have to come from Connecticut.
What other roles have you performed and are you still doing?
So I guess my biggest and most permeating role is volunteer, right?
Okay.
So all of my tasks are of a volunteer nature, whether that is coming on site and, cleaning, feeding, socializing animals, taking animals home in foster care. I'm still a foster parent.
Tell me some examples of fundraisers.
Sure, we have a lot of fundraisers throughout the year. Our very largest is we have an annual golf tournament in August, and we call it our Putting for Paws Golf Classic. So that is by far our largest fundraiser that we put on throughout the year. But we have a lot of community events. You'll see us at like the Daffodil Festival. A lot of like breweries have partnered with us for evenings where we'll have raffle and merchandise tables, and sometimes we'll host we'll have a comedy event, or I think they did music bingo one time, which was very, very fun. Those sort of things, just really consistently throughout the year. We had a shred event, which was very successful. People delivered all their old documents to be shredded for a donation. That was a very successful fundraiser. So all different things.
Talk about the staff at your organization, like the different roles people have. I know you've talked about volunteers, but somebody has to organize all that, and you have to have daily things covered.
They're all part-timers. Again, we rely very heavily on a volunteer base, and we have staff that are directly assigned to the cat areas and staff that are directly assigned to the dog areas. We have a newly hired animal care coordinator that sort of keeps us in line with who's needing to be spayed and neutered and who is due for a vaccination, who needs their heart guard on what day, those types of things that really kind of coordinates all of our animal care needs for both sides of the house. And then we have a part-time shelter supervisor as well. I think we have pretty carved out roles in terms of our staff, really kind of taking responsibility for like medications and, some things of that nature, the sicker animals, and we have a pretty good role and responsibility set that if you're a volunteer, you usually know why you're coming. So whether it's to clean a particular cat room or we have a kind of a color coding system for our dogs in terms of, newer volunteers can take care of dogs that have that are kind of easier, smaller, fewer behavioral issues, whereas our kind of, our stronger dogs, we would want as more seasoned volunteers. So usually when we come in, you're coming in for a specific task, and then the staff also know that they're coming in for a specific task.
Thinking back to your staff, so you mentioned fundraising, and it sounds like, is that largely volunteer run?
That's all volunteer run. We have a fantastic fundraising team. We're very, very lucky to have them.
Yeah, because that's an art form in itself.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And they just, coordinate. They have everything really, really down to a science, and they coordinate all of the fundraising events for us. Constantly looking for new ones, and I'm very proud to say that other businesses are sometimes looking for us to, to partner with us because that's a way that they can help give back to the animals.
So what do you do if you have an overflow of animals?
We're not a municipal shelter, so we do have the right and honestly the responsibility to say no if we're too full. And sometimes too full means we're at a space capacity. Yeah. But sometimes too full means that, we're at a budget capacity, right? That we, if we continue to take in more animals without the funds to match it, that we wouldn't be doing the animals the service we wanted to be doing. And the other thing is that when we don't have enough volunteers, there have been times that, we've been thin on volunteers, and that has affected how many animals we've taken in. So full can mean a lot of things. We collect towels and small blankets, like the kind of the small fleece blankets. Yep. The larger comforters and things like that are a little bit harder to store. But, cleaning products, bleach, those types of things, garbage bags always needed. Yep. Obviously canned cat food always needed. There's, we have an Amazon and a Chewy wish list, so if people aren't sure what to donate, they can donate things, sneaky little things like meat-flavored baby food is something you might never think to donate to an animal shelter, but boy, if an animal doesn't like you or doesn't like the pill that they have to take, that's an excellent tool, the meat-flavored baby food. But yeah, we have a Facebook and an Instagram page. Both Meriden Humane Society is the name of both of them, and we regularly post our wish lists, and then we'll post what items we're most running low on right at that moment. And we'll change the priorities on the wish list as well to say what we're most in need of at that time. Absolutely. Anything that's donated that can't be directly used by our animals goes into our food pantry. So we do a monthly food pantry for Meriden residents.
For their animals?
For their animals, yep.
Yeah, because with these economic times,
absolutely,
I'm sure that there's growing need. Are there any rules about people accessing the food pantry for their pets?
It's the first Monday of every month. You have to be a Meriden resident, and you have to just bring us a proof of rabies shot for your animal.
How can people help support your effort?
So I think the biggest thing is just, kind of remembering us in donations. Again, that veterinary cost, I think one of the biggest myths about a rescue or a humane society is that we have access to some sort of free veterinary costs. And that's just not, that's not the case. We don't have a vet on staff. We take our animals to vets just like you take your animals to vets. If you, see an animal that's compelling, or, that an animal's been injured that we've taken in, or an animal is sick, that it's very costly for us to care for that animal the way that it deserves to be. It deserves to be cared for. So certainly monetary donations to our vet fund, but we're always posting on our social media pages of just supplies that we're in need of, and again, people to volunteer, people to foster helps us rescue more animals.